In Algebra 1, I'm still in the car. Lesson 2.2b, slope-intercept form. You guys should be able to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form from a graph from 2 points, or if you're given the point and the slope. Let's do this. All right, we're going to do a quick review on slope and y-intercepts. So if you know what slope is, pause your video, come up and tell me. If not, just sit tight and I'll remind you. So slope, the letter M, people think it's because it's for like the French word for mountain. I'm not sure. But our slope is rise over run. It's also the change in y over the change in x, and we write that by showing subtraction. We subtract, we find the difference, whatever you want to say, we find the difference in our y coordinates, and we divide that by the difference in our x coordinates. Remember, if I use y1 first, its corresponding x coordinate has to be right underneath it. And then if the second point goes second, its corresponding coordinates have to be above and below them, okay? And the y-intercepts is a location where the graph crosses the y-axis. You should already have written this down. If you didn't, write it down now. So before we get into the weeds of writing these equations, let's look at this graph. What's the y-intercept? Well, first I'm going to find where this blue line here crosses the y-axis and looks like it goes right there. What are the coordinates of this point? Well, I don't go right or left, so my x-coordinate is 0, and you should always understand at the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is always 0. X-coordinate is always 0. Okay? And I go down 1. So we'll switch to erase. 0, -1. What's the slope? We can calculate it by using point or slope formula. Or if we're given a graph, I can just count. If I go up 1 over 1, I bump into the graph again. So that's my rise is 1. My run is 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So m equals 1. Okay. That's helpful. Now that I have this information, I can use the slope-intercept form for the equation of a line. We started writing equations. So the equation is y equals the slope times x plus b. Here, we remember m is slope, b is my y-intercept, and then, real quick, y, x and y. These are the variables that I use to find out the points on my line. So let's plug in what I know. I know I need y. M is 1 times x plus -1. Let's simplify. Y equals x minus 1. So here, once we have this equation, we can make a table. If x is 0, what's y? Well, we plug 0 in to this formula. I'm going to change colors so we see. So I'm going to plug this one in first. I get y equals 0 minus 1. That's y equals -1. Okay? And we know that. That's our y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is anywhere where x is 0. What if x is 1? Okay? Well, let's plug it in. Y equals 1 minus 1, y equals 0. So at x is 1, y is 0. Let's look at our graph. Does that make sense? Does that follow? If you see right here, yeah. We're at 0, 1. Excuse me, 1, 0. Brr, said that wrong. And we're here, 1, 0. Okay? This is why the equations for lines can be very powerful. So that one took a while. Let's move through a little quicker. What's the y-intercept? I'm going to change the black here. Crosses right there. That is 0, -2. What's the slope? Well, it looks like my slope is negative because I'm going down. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, and then over 1. Hold on, that's a bad spot. Let's find another grid mark right here. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I go over 1, 2, 3. Okay? So my slope is -4/3. So if I'm going to write that into my slope intercept form, it's called that because I have slope, and then I have my y-intercept right here. That's why we call it slope-intercept form. I have y equals negative 4/3 times x minus 2. Okay, let's do red. What's my y-intercept? Well, it looks like it's right there. That is the point 0. Remember, x is always 0 on our y-intercept. 0, negative 3. Is our slope positive or negative as we read left to right? It's going up, 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 so our slope is positive. And it looks like I'm going, here's where it touches a grid mark. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So 5/3. We can also plot these points and use our slope formula, but as long as I have a graph, I'm going to count if I can. So we use our, this is kind of like the blank, the general form of our formula, of our equation, because it has the variables that I can plug any numbers into. And that's what I'm going to do now. So I have y equals 5/3 x because m replaces, or 5/3 replaces m. And then minus 3 because I have plus b plus a negative is the same as a minus. And there's the slope-intercept form for that line. These are even more straightforward. So now we're just given the slope and the intercept. So here's the equation, the slope-intercept form for this line. And I'm going to substitute in what I know. Remember, slope is m. So I have y equals 2/3 times x plus 2. Here, 2 is positive, so it stays plus. And we're done. That's it. Oh boy. What do I do if I have 2 points and 1 is the y-intercept? So this is the y-intercept, which means b equals 4. But what does m equal? Well, I don't know, but I have a formula to help me find out. And here's where I have to do a little bit of work. x1, y1, x2, y2. I always label. That way I stay organized. And then I'm just going to plug in what I know. 4 minus negative 1 over 0 minus 2. That's going to give me 5 over negative 2, which I'm going to write like this. I just move the negative to the top because I like it that way. You don't have to do that. Sometimes you'll see that you have a fraction and then the negative sign is even with the fraction bar. These are all okay. These two are probably the most common. This is the least common. Okay, but now I have m. So I'm going to replace it. I'll take my formula. And now I'm going to replace m and b. So if y equals negative 5/2x plus 4. And I'm done. All right, let's recap. So we're doing slope-intercept form. That's intercept for short, which is going to be y equals mx plus b, where m is slope. That's not how you spell slope. And b is the y-intercept. Hence the name slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form. Okay, we know how to find it from a graph. We know how to find it from 2 points, where 1 is the y-intercept, y-int. And we know how to find and by the way, we're talking about the equation. We know how to find the equation given the slope and y-intercept, okay? So, practice for this is going to be in the book, finally. Page 61. You're going to do number 24 through 35. If you get stuck, check the examples. Look at your notes. Ask a friend. And then you know how to get a hold of me. Good luck.